In 1940, yet another small nation was invaded by a major player in the Second World War, following others such as Holland, Denmark, Belgium and Luxembourg. But the aggressor wasn't Nazi Germany, nor was it one of Germany's Axis partners. The aggressor against this neutral nation was the United Kingdom, who invaded the island on the 10th of May. This is a story of possibly the most farcical and polite invasion of the Second World War. This is a story of Operation Fork. In 1918, the island of Iceland had gained its independence from Denmark, although still remained tied in union with Denmark, with whom they shared a common monarch, broadly similar to Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland and England's union. In 1940, however, the German invasion and subsequent occupation of Denmark severed that connection. On the 9th of April, the UK invited Iceland to join her in a war against her aggressors, an offer Iceland refused. 3 days later, the UK took control of the Faroe Islands, approximately halfway between the Scandinavian mainland and Iceland. The Faroes had a similar relationship with Denmark as the Icelanders did, and were strategically placed to help control the North Atlantic. By the 6th of May, the British War Cabinet, led by Winston Churchill, had decided that further diplomatic approaches to Iceland would not only be useless, but may also alert Germany to the UK's efforts to secure the island. By this time, the ill-equipped and under-trained 2nd Royal Marine Battalion had already been mobilised, along with a handful of howitzers and naval guns, crewed by men who had never used them. In charge of this force was Colonel Robert Sturgis. The operation was meant to be carried out in secrecy, but due to poor organisation and communication oversights, the force's target of Iceland was known before it ever boarded ship in Greenock. A large amount of the equipment intended for the force was left behind on the dock when the two cruisers Glasgow and Berwick set off with the force aboard a day late on the 8th of May. The Marines were too cramped on board the two ships. The ships were too small for the force they needed to carry, and many suffered chronic seasickness. One unfortunate Marine committed suicide during the journey. Before approaching the island, a Walrus ASW aircraft was launched to look for enemy U-boats. Though ordered not to arouse suspicion amongst the local population, the aircraft flew directly over Reykjavik, alerting the populace, including prominent Germans, to the presence of a naval force. When the British fleet was eventually sighted by Icelandic police, for Iceland had no defence force, 400 Marines had been detached on board HMS Fearless, an escorting destroyer. The British ambassador was worried about overcrowding in the dock and reportedly asked a policeman to ask the assembled crowd to make room for the soldiers. He received a polite reply, and the crowd was moved. The only incident to occur during the landing happened when an Icelander snatched a rifle from a Marine, stubbed his cigarette out on it, and handed it back. The troops moved to take control of local media and broadcast station in order to delay word of the invasion reaching the Germans. Documents were retrieved from a fire in the German consulate, which was captured without a shot fired after troops had politely knocked on the door. The rest of the operation to take control of Iceland took longer than planned, taking more than a week to reach the northern ports. In 1941, the United States took over occupation of the island, and in a referendum in 1944 Iceland became a republic, severing its monarchical ties with Denmark. Upon the end of hostilities, the occupation forces were removed, although a US airbase continued to exist until 2006. The action to take Iceland had arisen from a fear of Germany controlling the island and using it to protect and service her U-boats in the North Atlantic. Indeed, there had been a German plan to invade the islands, full Icarus. But although it was believed an invasion could be successful, the benefits were considered too few to warrant the resupply of an occupied island.